Oh, I don't remember my subscription costing this much. Oh, we're increasing prices. I don't remember groceries being this expensive. We're increasing prices. Oh, it's a letter. Wait, what's happening to my rent? I'm increasing prices. So the cost of everything is increasing. Does that mean my pay increases? Absolutely not.
Okay, so minimum wage. What's the issue? People still think it should be higher. Why are we even considering this? Minimum wage jobs aren't even hard. Exactly. See, they shouldn't be able to live off unskilled labor. That's what I've been trying to get across to the voters. I worked at a grocery store when I was 16 and I barely had to do anything. Wasn't that the store your parents owned? Yeah, well, here's the thing. Cost of living has gone way up. It's the same cost of living for us. Filling up my Lexus is like $100 now. If you want more money, just go get a different job. But don't we need people to do these jobs for society to function? Well, yeah, but they can't expect to get rich off it. We get paid the way we do because we have more responsibility. We work harder. Weren't you in the Hamptons for the last month? I'm allowed to take a break every now and then.
So you recently went shopping at the grocery store and you spent a bunch of money and then looked in your cart and found it very barren for the money you spent. You filled up your car only to stare in horror at the final number at the pump. You've been hit with a massive rent increase from your landlord or are desperately praying it doesn't happen as you see how expensive rents are around you. Or you're a young family who went to invest in your first home only to find that even trash properties are far beyond your price range. Why is this happening? It's happening because the US government doesn't give a shit about you. You're a consumer, and you are on the money side of the wealth triangle, which means you primarily work for money and spend money and don't have a lot of capital that you can apply to your life or your financial well-being. Because they took care of the people who had capital. That's why the US government printed more money in the last 2 years than they have in the last several decades combined. This is why they reduced banking regulation and now banks don't have to hold 10% of the deposits that enter their building, thus allowing them to basically loan money indefinitely. It was to support the capitalist people, the people who actually have capital, which means wealth that they can apply and invest. Because they're the royalty in the American system and you are the peasant. And the people who work from capital aren't going to feel this inflation lift at all. It's all going to be on you. They're not going to feel it because they own the gas station. So when gas goes up, they raise their prices. They make the same money, maybe even a little bit more. They own the grocery store. So again, they're going to be the ones raising prices as basic consumer goods go up in value. And the reason inflation can go crazy like this is that our money is not tethered to any tangible wealth, which was done so we could continue to build capitalism as a forward expanding credit system on the wealth we felt we could create, which means money is ever manipulable. When it goes through a manipulation, well, it's just up to the peasants to burden it until their paychecks catch up. God knows how long that's going to take.
In my 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, my landlord is increasing my rent from $2,000 to $2,500. That's a lot of money. Might as well go buy a house. Okay, you want to buy a house? You're going to need $15,000 as your down payment, another $10,000 for closing costs. Oh, and your mortgage is going to be around $3,100. It's so expensive to buy a house. I'm just going to renew my lease and buy sometime in the future. So you want to renew your lease after all. Well, now it's going to be $2,700 because you missed the deadline to renew in the $500 promotion.
I wonder if my landlord gonna take Afterpay or Klarna this year coming for my rent, because it's 2023. Like, get with the program. What's good with the split payments? I'm just saying, I got all of it. Quad pay, what? Like, Sizzler.
Alright, I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. This is like the 4th time I've tried to make this video. But, how in the hell is everybody making it? Like, I don't understand. Like, me and my boyfriend, we both work. We work our asses off. I'm 5, almost 6 months pregnant. The house we were living in was a family member of a friend that we know. And she was moving back, was not planning on telling us, was just going to move in and say, oh, you can room with us. So we had to move. We are now staying with my boyfriend's father. We are trying to close on a house right now, but our rate didn't get locked in, so we weren't going to have to pay closing costs, but interest rates decided to hike, so Now we have a week to come up with $2,500. I have tried finding a second job, working from home, because I don't have a car. I lost my car. I had to get rid of it because of COVID. I got sick and got behind, and it was either a roof over my head or a car. And I work from home right now, so it wasn't a big deal. My boyfriend's got his car, but he does have to use that to get to and from work, so that kind of limits me on getting a second job. It's I don't know how the hell we're gonna do it. I don't know how anybody does it right now.
So I'm walking around Costco here and I'm noticing these prices. For example, these mattress lentils, $15.99. I bought those a year ago for $6.99. I keep getting told that we got, 6-7% inflation. You gotta be kidding me. Let's look at what else we got going on here. We literally bought this chicken broth, $5.69, 2 months ago. Dang, this is the flour we were buying for $5.99 last year.
Are you guys old enough to remember the $5 footlong? I got a straight up plain old roast beef footlong combo today in Seattle, Washington. Any guesses as to how much this bitch set me back today? Almost $22.
$100,000 is no longer enough to feel financially secure in many parts of the country. Great. Cost of living has soared, inflation is rising at a terrifying rate, and wages, of course, are not. And data actually shows that earning $100,000 in a high cost of living city like New York or San Francisco only equates to $35,000 of purchasing power after you adjust for cost of living and taxes. In slightly less expensive cities like DC or LA, this only increases to $45,000. If you make $100,000, you probably can afford to save some money for retirement and cover your basic necessities, have a little fun here and there. But apparently, now we all need to strive for $300,000 to be able to afford the same cushy lifestyle that $100,000 used to buy. Ugh.
Hey friends, I just wanted to update you guys on the cost of living situation here in New York City. Just like a quick reality check. So currently, as of June 2023, the average price of a studio apartment in New York City is $3,500 about. Okay? Average price, studio apartment. That means like you're living in one big box with a bathroom. You don't have your own room, right? Studio apartment, okay. In order to rent an apartment in New York City, you must be making at least 40 times the rent. Now, people will say, oh, 30 to 40 times. No. Ask your realtor, argue with your realtor and not me, okay? 40 times the rent. Now, if you're not making 40 times the rent, you can always have like a co-signer. They call it something different, but you always have like a co-signer, but they must be making 80 times the rent. So that's probably not an option if you're not making 40 times the rent. You probably don't know somebody making 80 times the rent. Okay. Now, 80%, even if you did know somebody, 80% of New Yorkers' salaries fall between the range of $35,000 and $150,000. And you must be making at least $140,000 to rent a studio apartment in New York City right now. So what you're telling me is about 80% of New Yorkers cannot afford to rent a studio apartment in New York City right now. So why am I even talking about this? Honestly, I just feel like we're being gaslit into thinking that we're not in a recession, into believing we're not in a recession. Like, I feel like we just keep being told, oh, people just don't want to work and blah, 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 and all this crazy stuff. People are getting laid off every single day. There are no jobs available. Like, it is actually hard out here. So if you're feeling it, I feel you, right? It's not just you. It's actually hard out here. We are currently in a recession. And it's tough, especially if you live in New York City. New York City is the most expensive city in the world. in the world, not in the US. No, in the world. It's the most expensive city in the world. So if you're feeling it, if you're living with your parents, if you're feeling like a bum right now, you're not a bum. It's hard times, baby.
Hi guys, yeah, you read that caption right. Pack with me to move back into my parents' house. I'm about to be 27, and I never thought I'd be in this position, but it's okay. I moved out of the house when I was 18 to go to college. My parents paid for my school, but since it was my decision to leave, they said that everything else was gonna be on me. And I did it, y'all. I paid my rent, my groceries, any furniture. I joined a sorority that I paid for too, which will explain my addiction to graphic tees. Then I graduated college, got a big girl job, got my own apartment, and was living my best life. I decided to take the opportunity of a lifetime in 2021 and move out from Dallas, Texas to San Diego, California. And it was the best decision of my whole entire life. This is me realizing that I also have way too many sweaters for California. As fun as these past 2 years have been, I've gotten myself into a little bit of trouble financially. And let me just preference by saying that I've never been the best at saving money, but I've always been able to take care of myself. I got a part-time job back in January because finances were getting a little tight, but then ended up being let go from my corporate job back in March. Luckily, because of my serving job, I was able to pay rent, still go to Coachella, and still go to Spain. But I haven't been looking for a job in the process because I honestly don't know if I can go back to corporate America. My lease was always ending in July, and my plan was to move back to Dallas. But since I lost my job and I don't really have a source of income and won't serve in Texas, my parents have generously offered their home while I figured this out. And again, even though it's not where I thought I'd be, I'm trusting God and I'm trusting the universe. And I haven't been home in 9 years, so this might be fun. So here's to the beginning of that journey.
I just budgeted my paycheck that I get tomorrow, and I have $317 left over after my bills for 2 weeks. I'm gonna have to be a hermit.
For the people that moved back home with their parents after being moved out for a while, did they just revert back to their absolute insane behavior from when you were a kid? Because whenever I went out in high school, my friends would have a counter of how many times my mom called, and if it was less than 5, it meant that it was gonna be a really good day. And you're probably wondering, why didn't I just not pick up the phone? Well, that is a great question, because one time in college, I didn't pick up my phone for a couple hours, so then my parents drove 2.5 hours down to my dorm room and showed up unannounced. So, you know, I've kind of been conditioned to pick up because I'm more scared of the crazy that's about to happen. And honestly, it got a lot better once I got a 9-to-5 job, but since I moved back home, my mom has called me more than 10 times a day, every single day since I've been back. But since the only place that she can show up unannounced now is my bedroom, I've simply decided that I'm only going to allow her to have 3 phone calls a day. But since I get so panicked whenever I see the word mother pop up on my phone, I thought that the easiest solution was to just change her contact name after she reaches her allotted number of phone calls. Yeah, so this is what it's like living with an overly controlling narcissistic mother. And whenever I call her crazy, because this is clearly not normal behavior, she just giggles and says she's a professional. But I think she means that she's a professional gaslighter.
Let's talk about how ridiculous it is to try and survive and live in the United States right now currently. Based on inflation, this home that you could buy for $1,785 in 1929, this home came with everything you needed to build a house: plumbing, electric, wiring, trim, paint, everything. You had to build it, but it was $1,785. That's a 4-bedroom, 1-bath home. That home, based on inflation, should be $30,769.47. According to money.cnn.com, the average 4-bedroom home in the United States right now costs $363,401, or 11.8 times the inflation rate. So how did that happen, right? Inflation says that house should be 31 grand. Anyway, let's look at some statistics in the United States right now, kind of associated with 31 grand. The average compact car right now costs $26,000, so you could buy that. Mid-size car, 32 grand, too much. Couldn't afford that, right? That house should be cheaper than a mid-size car. Student loans, $37,338, also more. Food to feed a family of 4, $12,565, or about 2 years of food costs for a family of 4 is what that house should cost. Average childcare expense, $14,760, and that's for one child. So if we multiply that by 2 for 2 children, it should cost you about 1 year of childcare to buy that house. Here's a crazy one. Taxes to take care of a homeless individual. $30,000 to $50,000 a year today is what it costs to house a homeless individual in the United States. But based on math and based on the government's own calculation to calculate inflation, that 4-bedroom, 1-bath house should cost $30,769.47.